we are making snowflakes today because it's approaching Christmas. We want to make some snowflakes. So I want you to choose a backdrop that is suitable for this snowy Christmas video. Winter? Winter is a really good one because it's actually got some Christmas trees as well, huh? Well, in fact, I'm going to choose winter, but you don't have to choose winter if you don't want to. You can choose any backdrop you want, but I'm going to choose winter. So in Australia, when it's Christmas time, it's very, very hot. But in other parts of the world, especially in the Northern Hemisphere, it's usually very cold because it's in winter in December up in the Northern Hemisphere, and it's summer down here in Australia. So even though when we talk about Christmas, we always see things like snow and icicles and snowmen, that usually happens outside of Australia. But inside Australia, it's usually very, very hot, and we hardly ever get snow. So that's just something to think about. And now we are going to try and build our first snowflake. Okay, so once you have your backdrop here, we're going to start building our first snowflake. How are we going to do that? Well, I'm glad you asked. I want you to go into choose a sprite, but instead of clicking on choose a sprite, I want you to go up to paint. When you go up to paint, you get put straight into the costumes tab of this new sprite called Sprite 1. Remember Sprite 1 was our cat before? Well, now it is going to be our snowflake, Sprite 1. But I want you to name this Sprite 1 to be called something else. I want you to call it Snowflake, like that. Snowflake. Okay, Snowflake. Now, what we are going to do is a little bit tricky. We're going to start to have to draw the snowflake, but we're not drawing the whole snowflake. We're drawing just one section of the snowflake. Why are we drawing one section of the snowflake? It's because we're going to repeat the pattern around in a circle. Pardon me, around in a circle. Okay, that's why we don't want to draw the whole snowflake. We just want to draw part of it. Okay, so to draw part of a snowflake, I'm going to teach you an easy way to do that. Okay, so have a look carefully. Watch this. I'm going to click on line over here on the left-hand side. Okay, so I click on line, and then the outline is colored black over here. You see that? It's colored black. Well, the snowflake isn't colored black, so we need to color it white. So we click on this, this outline color, and then I want you to turn saturation all the way down to the bottom, and then brightness all the way up to the top, and that will make white. So color 0, saturation 0, brightness 100. That's going to be white. And you can tell it's white because this square over here is now a white square. Click somewhere outside, and now we're going to draw this line. I'm going to draw a little zigzag, so watch this. So I put my mouse around the middle here, okay? Or not right on the middle, but around the middle, just a bit above it. And then I click down, but I don't let go, okay? I click down, and then you can see a little white line has just been drawn. Okay, and then as soon as I let go, that line is going to stay there. And I want you to draw a few white lines like this, and that will make a little bit of a jagged shape. It doesn't have to be the same as mine. It just has to be a jagged shape, sort of like mine. Okay, so let's get straight lines and then drag a few straight lines and make this jagged shape. Why is it this jagged shape? It's because we're going to rotate this shape and duplicate it in a circle. So it doesn't need to be positioned in the middle, and we don't have to draw the whole snowflake. We just draw one little part of it. All right. So we draw this jagged shape, and then at the end, make sure that you connect your line all together so that it all the lines are all closed off, so we don't have any gaps in the lines. If you need to do if you make a boo-boo, if you make a mistake, then you press the undo button, which is over here, okay? You keep pressing undo until you do it right again. Now the next bit, this is what we do. After you have created your little jagged side of the snowflake, I want you to press this fill button, which is right above the straight line button. You press the fill button, and then you see how it's purple? We don't want it purple. We want it to be white, like a snowflake. So we click on that, and then do the same thing here. We move saturation all the way down to the bottom, brightness all the way to the top. You can put color all the way down to the bottom as well. And then that will be white. And then we click on our shape, and it should color it all in white. So that's what we're trying to do. We want to make our snowflake side to be white, white as a snowflake. Okay, so after we have our snowflake side done, then let's go into our code. What we want to do is when we press the flag, the go flag, we want the snowflake to clone itself and rotate several times in the point. Okay. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to do randomize how many points that this snowflake has. But before we randomize it, we need to make sure that it works, right? We need to make sure that this snowflake works before we do any kind of randomization. So we need an event for the go flag. So let's go into events, when flag clicked. When flag clicked, what we want to do is we want to hide this snowflake. Okay, we want to hide this snowflake. Why do we want to hide it? It's because when we clone it, we don't want to keep the original. We want to make sure everything is using the cloned version. Okay, so this is what we'll do. When the flag is clicked, we go into looks, and then we'll go to hide. Marcus.
I think you go into control and get create clone of myself.
Good, very good. So we go into control, create clone of myself. Excellent. So once we create a clone of myself, we need to figure out how many points of this star we have. So let's say we want to create 4 clones of myself. Then I'll go over here and I'll go repeat 4 times. 4 times to create a clone of myself. So if I click on this, whoop, I've disappeared. I wonder what I'm missing. Yes, Marcus.
You forgot to show yourself.
Good, very good. So
and also, you've got nothing when you start as a clone.
That's right. So when I start as a clone, I drag it in from control. And then I gotta go show myself. So I click on the flag and have a look. Yep. We now have our snowflake part showing, but it is now all stacked on top of each other if I want to rotate them, what should I do?
Going to motion to turn 15 degrees.
Fantastic. So instead of turning 15 degrees, Bowen, I want you to tell me how many degrees are there in a circle? Do you know how many?
380.
It's close.
360.
360. Fantastic, Bowen. So if there are 360 degrees in a circle, and I want to have 4 corners of this snowflake, then how many degrees should I be turning?
90.
90. Fantastic, Bowen. Very good. All right. So we need to turn 90 degrees each time before after we clone ourselves. Okay. Let's try see what that does. Bling. See? We now have a little snowflake. But now, let's say I want to have six sides of the snowflake. How many degrees should I turn for 6 sides of the snowflake? The way we solve it is we go 360 divided by 6. So now, in order to make sure that our snowflake is going to work properly, we want to make a my block. A my block is something that helps us do these complicated maths the same way each time, so that we don't have to do it over and over again. Right? Every time we change the number, we don't want to have to change these values each time, right? But before we do that, we're going to do one more thing. We're also going to choose a random size. Okay, so we go into motion. And then, oh, actually, we're going to look, sorry. And then we go set size to, we need it somewhere between 50 and 100%. So here we go set size to. How do I make it randomized between 50 and 100%? Kevin.
They gotta operate it and then the pick random between 1 and 10.
Yep. Good. And then we go 50 to 100, right?
Yeah.
Fantastic, Kevin. Well done. So now, each time we press the flag, it's going to have a random angle. I mean, a random size. Sometimes it's bigger, sometimes it's smaller. But each time, it's still going to have 6 sides and turning 60 degrees. So instead of doing all of this, we want to make it so that we have a random my block. I mean, a my block that does all this for us. So you go to my blocks. And then we want to make a my block called Snowflake. And then it's going to have 2 things. 1, it's going to be its size. And 2, it's going to be the sides, how many sides this snowflake has. So make a block. We want to call this block Snowflake. But don't press OK yet, because we need to add 2 parameters to it. The first parameter is its size. And then we add another second parameter, which is its sides. Okay, size and sides. So your snowflake will have 2 numbers that determine what it's going to look like. So now your defined snowflake block should appear on your screen. I'm going to move it down so that it doesn't block all my other things. And this is what we got to do. We got to move everything after hide, so set size 2 and this loop. We need to move all that under define, okay, the define the snowflake, my block. Why is that? Because we need to make sure that we are using a my block to build these snowflakes. Otherwise, it's going to take us ages to change all these numbers all the time. Does that make sense? So here from set size 2, we click it and we drag all the way down to define snowflake. And in its place, we put in the new snowflake my block. I'll give you a few moments to make sure you do that. So we drag everything after hide to the define snowflake my block. And then in its place, we put in the new snowflake my block. Okay. Now remember the size. We have this random number between 50 and 100. That's the first number here, size. So we're going to drag this operator up to here, the first block. So now the snowflake is going to be between 50 to 100% in scale. And now I need a second operator because we want to randomize our snowflake to have between, say, 4 to 8 sides. So in order to do that, we're going to operators and we do a pick random 4 to 8. We put it over here. The final thing that we need to do is look at the define my block. Here, what we do is we drag the size parameter to replace the set size 2. Because we're going to use this random number instead. And then we're going to replace this repeat number with sides. Finally, we have to replace this turn 60 degrees. So remember, if we wanted 6 sides, then we turn 60 degrees because it's 360 divided by 6. If we had 4 sides, we had to turn it to 90 degrees because it's 360 divided by 4. So the number of degrees is simply 360 divided by the number of sides. Okay. Yes, Marcus.
I think I know how to do it.
Yep. How do we do it?
So you go to operators.
Yep.
Is there an operator that means divide?
Yep. This one. You see this one?
Yeah.
The slash means divide.
Drag it into the turn something degrees.
Yep.
And then write 360 in the first one.
Yep.
And then put sides in the second.
Fantastic. That is exactly right, Marcus. Well done. So that is going to make it so that when we click the flag, we're going to be a random size, and also we're going to randomize how many sides it will have. So let's try that. So you click on it. Sometimes it's got 5 sides, sometimes 6, sometimes 4, sometimes 8. and sometimes 7. Once you have got this far, we need to now make some more designs for the snowflake sides. So you go into costumes, and then you see how we have this one snowflake side. We need to make a few more. I want you to make another 3 more. Okay. So what you do is you go right click, you go duplicate, right click, duplicate, right click, duplicate. And then for these other 3, we want to change them so that they look a little bit different. So that when we duplicate, we're going to, when we make our next snowflake, we can change our costume to make it look really different. Okay? So I'll give you guys 5 minutes to duplicate and update your costumes. So here, okay, you can press on reshape. And then you can make the corners really different. Like that. So the first one's like that, second one's like that, third one. Hey, Kevin?
There's no reshape button.
So you got to click on your shape, and then you'll be able to press on reshape.
Oh. What?
Got it?
No.
So you press on select to select your shape.
Yeah.
And then press on reshape.
There's still no reshape though.
Are you using the desktop version?
What desktop?
Are you using Scratch on your computer or on the website?
Computer.
Computer? It should work. So if you press the when you press the select button, can you click on your shape?
No. There's
Oh.
only the select button with the box on it.
So you see, yeah, so when you click on it, does it look like this?
I can't click on it. I only can drag a box around it and do that.
Oh, really? You can't click on the shape that you've drawn before?
No.
It might be a different version that you have, Kevin. But doesn't matter. If you don't have the reshape button, you can always just create a new one, just like how you created the first one.
Oh, okay.
So you create all these different shapes. That way, when we randomize the snowflake with the costume and its sides and the number of angles it has, it's going to make a unique snowflake each time. And then, before we make our snowflake, what we want to do is go to a random costume. So go to looks. And then we go next costume. But instead of next costume straight away, let's go repeat it a random amount of times. Whoops. So repeat between 1 and 4 times. So we skip between the different costumes between 1 and 4 times before we create our snowflake. So now that will create all sorts of different designs for your snowflake.